Imagine the bottom of the sea. Not the pretty, sun-dappled coral reef version, but the cold, black, crushing deep. In 1901, a team of divers, hunting for sea sponges, ripped a ghost from this abyss. They found a 2,000-year-old shipwreck, and from its guts they pulled a corroded green lump of bronze, so calcified and grotesque it looked more like a diseased rock than a human creation. For decades, this ugly paperweight sat in a museum, a footnote to a much grander hall of statues and treasure. Nobody cared. It was just a chunk of ancient garbage, a relic so twisted by the sea that its secrets were sealed in a tomb of its own making, a forgotten piece of a forgotten world, whispering nothing to no one. The story of its discovery is pure chaos. A crew of Greek sponge divers, blown violently off course by a furious storm, took shelter near the barren island of Antikythera. When the sea calmed, one of them took a dive and came shooting back to the surface, babbling about a horrifying heap of rotting corpses and dead horses on the seafloor. What he'd actually found was an ancient Roman shipwreck, a treasure vessel lost to the deep. The corpses were magnificent bronze and marble statues. For months they pulled up wonders from the ancient world, jewelry, coins, art, and amidst all that glittering history, they dredged up that one ugly, unidentifiable lump. Then, decades later, someone looked a little closer. The corroded mass, dried and brittle, cracked open. And what spilled out wasn't dust or rock. It was a mechanical nightmare. A dense, intricate web of impossibly small, precision-cut bronze gears, layered together like a metallic onion from another dimension. This was wrong. All wrong. The gears were a horological horror show, a complex clockwork mechanism that, according to every history book ever written, absolutely should not exist. This level of engineering wasn't supposed to be invented for another 1,400 years. It was like finding a smartphone in a dinosaur fossil. Let's be clear about the technological leap here. The ancient Greeks and Romans were brilliant, yes. They had levers, they had aqueducts, they even had basic, clumsy gears for grinding grain or lifting water. But this was something else entirely. This was alien. We're talking about at least 37 distinct gears, many with meticulously calculated triangular teeth, all interlocking in a system of staggering complexity. This is differential gearing, a concept so advanced it was the technological bleeding edge of the 14th century. To find it in a 2,000-year-old box is to find a flaw in the code of reality itself. And here's where the dread begins to creep in. This machine wasn't just a clock. A clock is simple. A clock tells you when it's lunchtime. The sheer, terrifying complexity of this device screamed a far more profound, far more unsettling purpose. It was too smart, too intricate for something so mundane. The arrangement of the gears, the barely legible inscriptions etched into its bronze faces, hinted at a cosmic function. This machine wasn't built to track the minutes of a day. It was built to track the movements of the heavens, to predict the dance of the planets, the phases of the moon, and even the terrifying, soul-shaking arrival of eclipses. It wasn't a time teller. It was a future teller. Once modern science aimed its high-tech eyeballs at this corroded lump of secrets, the ghost in the machine began to scream. Using X-rays and advanced CT scans, researchers peered through 2 millennia of decay and pieced together an impossible truth. This was no mere trinket. It was a mechanical computer, an intricate, bronze-brained oracle designed to map the heavens. This device didn't just point at the stars. It held their future in its metal claws. It flawlessly tracked the movements of the sun and the moon, charting their paths across the sky. With a simple turn of a crank, it could leap forward or backward in time, predicting solar and lunar eclipses with a terrifying accuracy that wouldn't be matched for over 1,000 years. But it gets weirder. This machine didn't just track simple, perfect circles. It accounted for the subtle variations in the moon's orbit, the elliptical wobble that makes its speed change. This complex calculation, known as the first lunar anomaly, was a cosmic headache that even brilliant later astronomers struggled to model. Yet this 2,000-year-old box solved it with a series of interlocking gears. Now, let's pry open the casing and get our hands dirty, because the true horror is in the details. Buried deep within the clockwork guts of this machine, scientists found it, a differential gear. This is a cluster of gears so mind-bendingly sophisticated that it allows a single power source to turn two separate axles at different speeds. Think of the wheels on a car turning a corner. The outer wheel has to spin faster than the inner one. That's what a differential does. It's a foundational component of modern engineering, a clever solution that historians were certain was first conceived in the 16th century. Finding one here is like finding a jet engine in a horse-drawn chariot. It simply should not exist. To truly grasp the shock of this discovery, you have to shatter your sense of history. Imagine an archaeological team digging up the fossilized skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus rex. As they brush the dirt away, they find a perfectly preserved, fully functional Swiss watch clenched between its fossilized teeth. That's the level of impossible we're dealing with. This isn't just a historical anomaly, it's a temporal bomb that detonates our entire timeline. It doesn't just suggest we got a few dates wrong. It screams that our entire understanding of the ancient world, of technological progress, of who our ancestors were, is a comforting bedtime story we've been telling ourselves. This object rips that story to shreds and sets the pages on fire. So, the terrifying question echoes from the deep. Who could have possibly built this? Was it the work of a singular, legendary genius, a mad scientist like Archimedes, whose earth-shattering inventions were mostly lost to fire and time? A lone spark of brilliance in a sea of darkness? Or is the truth something far more unsettling? Could this be the last surviving relic of an entire tradition of advanced mechanical science that has been completely erased from history? A whole society of brilliant engineers whose knowledge vanished without a trace, leaving only this single cryptic ghost to haunt us from its watery grave. And that leads to the most morbid question of all. If this incredible knowledge existed, if a civilization was capable of creating a pocket-sized universe 2,000 years ago, why did it disappear? What kind of cataclysm, what monumental failure, what world-ending event could be so total that it not only wiped out the scientists, but buried the science itself for millennia? But the real madness began when we pointed our 21st century death rays at it. High-resolution X-rays and computed tomography scans clawed through 2 millennia of corrosion, peeling back the layers of that calcified metal lump. And inside, they found more than just gears. They found words, faint, almost ghostly inscriptions etched into the bronze plates, a secret user manual hidden from the world. This wasn't just an object, it was an object that told you how to use it. The text explained the cosmos it modeled, the zodiac, the risings and settings of major stars. It even had a dial to track the 4-year cycle of the ancient Olympic Games. This 2,000-year-old machine, found by divers in a forgotten shipwreck, wasn't just a clock. It was a complete guide to the Greek universe, a portable, mechanical oracle. And that is the moment the floor drops out from under everything you think you know. The Antikythera Mechanism isn't just a fascinating artifact. It is a verdict. It is the final, screaming proof that our smooth, linear story of human progress is a comforting lie we whisper to ourselves in the dark. The tidy little timeline in your history book, the one that goes from cave paintings to smartphones in a neat, orderly line. Tear it up, burn it. The truth is that history is not a ladder we climbed, it's a series of explosive rockets that blew up on the launch pad again and again. Humanity achieved this breathtaking level of genius once before, and then, catastrophically, we lost it. We didn't invent this technology, we just finally managed to reinvent it after 2,000 years of fumbling around in the dark. This corroded object is a tombstone for a forgotten branch of human history, a whole world of knowledge that was snuffed out. So what? Why should this ancient, waterlogged computer send a shiver down your spine today? Because this object is a warning flare fired from the deep past. It demonstrates, in terrifyingly solid bronze, just how fragile an entire civilization's worth of knowledge truly is. We store our entire world on servers, in clouds, as ephemeral little sparks of electricity that could be wiped out by a single solar flare. The Greeks etched their genius into metal, a substance built to last, and even that was almost lost forever. It shows that a society can be wiped so clean that its greatest achievements become impossible myths. In the end, the Antikythera Mechanism is so much more than a bizarre piece of metal found in a shipwreck. It is a ghost. It is the ghost of a future that could have been, a world where the Industrial Revolution might have sparked in the age of Roman legions. It's a chilling echo from a timeline that was aborted, its wonders drowned and left to rot at the bottom of the sea. It's the ultimate unsettling proof that what we think we know is just a fraction of what has been forgotten, a testament to the futures we have already lost. So what kind of mind builds a ghost? What forgotten civilization, wedged between legends of bronze-clad heroes and marble-robed philosophers, decided to build a machine that could bottle the future? This wasn't the work of a lone genius tinkering in a dusty workshop. This object screams of an entire infrastructure of impossible knowledge, a society that looked up at the stars, not with poetic wonder, but with the cold, calculating eyes of an engineer staring at a blueprint. Imagine it. A culture where children didn't learn to throw a spear, they learned differential gearing. A people who charted celestial mechanics with a precision we wouldn't achieve for another 1,500 years. This 2,000-year-old device wasn't a curiosity. It was their pocket watch, their GPS, their everything. It suggests a history running parallel to our own, a timeline of hyper-advanced artisans whose entire legacy was swallowed by the sea. So where did they go? You can scour every dusty scroll, every piece of broken pottery, and you will not find a single mention of the school that taught this science. It's a gaping, screaming void in our history books. It's as if an entire branch of human evolution, the branch that built mechanical computers while everyone else was building aqueducts, was meticulously snipped from the record. Or maybe it wasn't snipped. Maybe it was burned. Think of the great intellectual bonfires of history, the razing of libraries, the destruction of Alexandria. We weep for lost plays and forgotten philosophy. But what if we lost something more? What if, in the smoke and ash, we lost the schematics for reality itself? What if everything we think we know about our past is fundamentally wrong? This forces a darker question. Was this device truly for predicting festivals and planting seasons? Or was that just the user-friendly interface for a far more terrifying function? A machine that can predict the subtle dance of a solar eclipse can also predict the precise moment the sky will turn to fire. It can calculate the rhythm of the cosmos, and that rhythm sometimes includes cataclysms. Every gear, every tiny inscription, could be part of a grand, terrifying calculation. Not just to know when the moon will blot out the sun, but to understand the patterns of doom. The ancient world was obsessed with omens, with cosmic warnings. What if this wasn't just an astronomical chart, but the most sophisticated doomsday clock ever conceived, built by people who saw something awful bearing down on them from the deep black? This corroded lump of metal, this impossible object, might not be a tool of enlightenment. It might be a fossil of fear. The final desperate calculation of a people who knew their time was up. A silent, ticking monument to a forgotten apocalypse, left behind as a warning that the universe keeps its own schedule, and it does not care about ours. And look at us now, with our satellites and supercomputers, charting the same stars. We beam signals into the void, so proud of our grasp on the universe. We think we are pioneers, boldly venturing into the unknown. But what if we're just toddlers, playing with the broken toys of a far more advanced ancestor, completely oblivious to the instruction manual? This single discovery from a forgotten shipwreck proves that we are not the first. We are perhaps just the latest iteration in a long cycle of cosmic ambition and catastrophic failure. The divers who found this thought it was just a rock, but they actually recovered the tombstone of a lost future. A ghost that whispers to us that everything we've built could be erased just as easily. And the most unsettling thought of all? The shipwreck isn't empty. There are more artifacts buried in the silt, more secrets waiting in the deep. What other impossibilities are down there, slowly dissolving in the salt water, waiting for another chance to crawl to the surface and prove that our understanding of history, of reality itself, is a fragile, laughable joke?